Call the meeting to order. We need an approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, I should mention that Councillor Murphy is still not feeling very well. He called and sent his regrets, and I guess Councillor LeBlanc is fishing, I believe is what he called in. Okay? And we have a presentation from Neil Mackenzie to do with Nova Scotia Music Week, which we have hosted a few times now. You can have the podium, sir.
Give me a proof.
I'm gonna slow down on my way up here.
Should we vote on the?
You vote on the agenda first?
Yeah, we voted on the agenda.
Aye.
Did we, Haley?
Yes, you did. Yeah, so Glenn and then Kathy second moved.
I didn't second it.
No.
Glenn and Kathy.
Oh,
Yeah,
Kathy,
Kathy, sorry.
Go
Good to
ahead.
go? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to present to you tonight. I'm going to try to be as quick as I can in being aware of your time in light of that. So I wanted to talk to you tonight about your potential support for Nova Scotia Music Week bid. Nova Scotia Music Week was hosted in the Yarmouth and Acadian Shores region for 3 years in 2010, 11, and 12. It was also most recently hosted in our area in 2015. And the bid has been released for 2020, 2021, and 2022, which is why I'm here tonight. I'd like to try to gather your support for the licensing fees. There is a financial ask, but I wanted to just give you a little bit of a preamble about the event, some of the economic impacts that have been measured and associated with hosting the event in the region, and then I'll be on my way, because I don't believe you generally make decisions during presentation time. So Nova Scotia Music Week is committed to ensuring the growth of the music sector through education, training, communication, promotion, and artistic recognition. Nova Scotia Music Week offers members these services in an increasingly competitive and ever-changing music industry. The flagship of these efforts is Nova Scotia Music Week, or NSMW. It is the focal point each year for members of the industry. Nova Scotia Music Week provides professional development, showcasing opportunities, and an opportunity to heighten awareness and increase exposure and audience appreciation for Nova Scotia music experience in the host community. Nova Scotia Music Week is an annual celebration. It's been in Truro, for example, for the last 3 years in a row, so we're really trying to claw away from them, as great as the event has been there. It's a celebration that brings music fans, musicians, high-profile music industry professionals, and media together for 4 days of industry and public accessed events. So all the events are public, even the industry-to-industry events. Each year, Nova Scotia Music Week includes a public music festival, a professional development conference, and an international music buyers program, and the Music Nova Scotia Awards celebration. While some events are specific to the music industry, all components of Nova Scotia Music Week are open to the public. Anyone can purchase a delegate's pass, and all events are open to the ticket-buying public. Nova Scotia Music Week is a wonderful wonderful testimony to how public music festival and a business-to-business conference can blend. Showcasing festival and concert components are aimed at presenting the talents of Nova Scotia artists to the public and industry professionals, while the awards presentations are a celebration of achievement and provide heightened public recognition. The conference topics range from representing core industry know-how to exploring current and emerging issues facing the music industry, along with potential approaches and solutions. And I just gathered some economic impact and visitor expenditure quotes from two studies, or two references, I guess. One was a study that was done through the STEAM model, which was actually measuring the 2010 Nova Scotia Music Week, which happened in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores. That report was I think was attached to your package, so you can reference that. But in that report, there's some numbers around the event that was released in 2011, and I also have some numbers in here and some quotes that were pulled off of the Tourism Nova Scotia. Sorry, I'm talking tourism now. The Music Nova Scotia AGM package, which references the visitor expenditures at the Truro event. So in Nova Scotia Music Week in 2017, Truro resulted in $1.5 million in direct spending in the host community. The typical visitor spend, which is something we're all about, was $1,295 or $443 per person. In total spending in Yarmouth County by out-of-county visitors during Nova Scotia Music Week was $325,000. The typical visitor to the Yarmouth County indicated they spent an average of 3.5 nights on their trip for Nova Scotia Music Week. Again, filling rooms, which is one of the goals certainly of Yarmouth and Acadian Shores. And in 2010, the Nova Scotia Music Week provided a significant economic impact to Yarmouth County. The combined operations and visitor expenditures directly associated with the events totaled $539,000. And I've referenced these quotes, so you can check on that as well. The cost to host Music Week is significant in terms of licensing fees. So the event is owned by Nova Scotia Music and Music Nova Scotia. Music Nova Scotia licenses the event to host communities, but the host community is responsible for coming up with the hosting licensing fees and in-kind costs. So the amounts that are in this letter here, I tried not to be confusing, and I know I can tend to be that way, but really it comes down to a $30,000 licensing fee. That's just the cost to host the event. That cost would not be required from any partner unless a bid was won, unless the event was won, and it wouldn't be required until next year's fiscal at the earliest, because the event only would occur in Yarmouth and Acadian Shores in 2020 at the earliest. So if you were to approve something like this at a later date, you wouldn't have to budget for this, and certainly in this fiscal, or I would leave that up to your financial people and the CAO to determine the best way to do that. Perhaps you could budget $5,000 this year and $5,000 next year, whatever, to make your impact as little as possible. What I have done is asked each core partner of the Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourism Association to contribute $10,000 to the event to deal with those hosting fees. But also, there's a $20,000 in-kind cost. Okay, so if you follow my math, if we had $10,000 from each municipality and then $10,000 from the hotel association, that would give you $40,000. But the in-kind costs are cash. Some of those are cash. So some of those things are related to community pageantry. So the community would be responsible for putting up banners and signage and paying for the cost to that, or providing. There is a requirement in the bid to provide some shuttling. There is a requirement in the bid to provide up to 70 room nights. But those can all go against that $20,000 in kind. So, for example, the Rod Grand Hotel has committed to providing those 70 room nights. That's approximately $10,000 to comp those rooms for the event. And the town of Yarmouth has also agreed to provide their $10,000. And the Hotel Association has also agreed to provide $10,000 for the event. So often in these situations when your partners come asking for money, the logical question is to say, what are the other partners bringing in? I'm glad I can provide that information for you tonight so that you can at least know that, so you don't have to ask that. You would be my third presentation, and then I intend to present to the municipality of Yarmouth probably in a week or so, I think, when the next meeting is scheduled. But those two other partners of Yasta have confirmed that, and the hotel room nights have been confirmed. So there really is only about $10,000 that's up in the air, and that's why I'm asking for $10,000 from each partner. I may not need all of that, but because there could be some costs that could be provided through community partners, we're also allowed to go after sponsorship as a host committee. So we may be able to actually get rid of that last $10,000 through sponsorships and other partnerships. But in order to be safe and show commitment for the bid, that is what I'm asking for from each partner. So that is my presentation. As quickly as I can, if any of you need to meet with me or talk about this event at a later date and discuss some of the benefits specifically to your area. So for example, some of you may be wondering if there's going to be events or any of these events will actually occur in the Argyle region, and I can certainly try to answer those questions.
Questions for Mr. Neal, Mackenzie?
I guess that was my exact question. They might as well answer it now.
Sure. So we have when we forge this bid, some of the things we have to do, obviously it's a competitive process. I believe there will be other destinations in Nova Scotia bidding on this event. Some of the things we intend to do is leverage the unique differentiators that we use in tourism. So certainly Acadian content and the language and music, are things that we would be putting in the bid that would contribute to us being a better choice, for example, over another destination. I intend on recommending facilities within the Argyle region, certainly the theater at Paramba or other new facilities in the region that aren't traditionally seen as venues that could be considered as venues. So you could do a small musical venue or musical performance at Anchored Grounds, for example, or at the Tuscan Falls, which we know we're doing now. So, and this is all new infrastructure that didn't exist in 2015. A lot has happened since then. You know, there's been development certainly in Tuscan area. There's new musicians. There's new people playing. There's still quite a great music scene. The town of Yarmouth has gone through quite a bit of revitalization. We have new hotels coming online, which again is really a benefit. Like things are lining up properly in the right timing. So I'm hoping that those things will all be taken into consideration when the bid is put in. So hope that answers your question.
Any more questions? Very good, Neil.
Thank you, everyone.
Very well done. And as you know how it works. We'll have
Yes.
to deliberate on this and get back to you.
Yep, and if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm willing to work with you in any way we can.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Neil.
Okay, adoption of the minutes for the Committee of the Whole, March 26.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And there's business from the minutes to do with the well supply upgrade lending program. There's one change in there, I believe. We've gone over this a couple times now. Would you like to highlight what that is?
Just simply, it was a request to open up the definition around what could be considered as a well supply or the supply of water. I think our original definition was pretty narrow around it being access to water. We increased the wording to be a bit more inclusive around water treatment. So we had a request, a very unusual situation where the water was really bad and it required specific treatment in order to be potable or even usable. And this change is to allow that to happen, essentially.
So this would be considered second reading?
Yes, it would.
So we could have a motion on that, if anyone so chooses to do so.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor of the changes to the policy and the water lending program? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Councillors report, we'll start. Calvin's. Councillor D'Entremont, sorry.
Thank you. Great. Usually you start on the other end, and by the time it gets to me, there's nothing left to say, but just wanted to mention the volunteer banquet that last Friday, well attended, all kinds of great volunteers again in our municipality. Great to see them all out and recognized. I don't know what we do without our volunteers. We all know that. So, attended waste check yesterday morning. Waste check meeting. Finally made one. I guess my schedule sometimes doesn't allow me to make it on a Monday morning, but I was around, and I found something very interesting. Waste check is coming out with a promotional video that I guess depicts or about the waste parks and where they sort the garbage and the need to make sure that I guess needles for diabetics and stuff are properly disposed, because they showed people getting I guess for lack of a better word pricked with the needles, and it actually did happen I guess to a guy in the Truro plant, and so they've got these promotional videos that really to me kind of hit home and gave me goosebumps. So hopefully those will be circulated and people will be able to see them. Thank you.
Councillor Albright?
Attended, as everybody, most of the people here did, the priority setting workshop that we had for council, committee of the whole. I also attended the soccer AGM meeting. Registration for soccer has opened and will stay open until, well, without a late fee, until May 2nd. So if you don't want to pay the extra $25, register before the 2nd of May. You can register online. on the Facebook website, all the information is there. Baseball registration has opened as well and is open until the 20th of May.
Thank you. Councillor Swain?
Just a couple of things, same as Calvin, actually. Volunteer banquet, I'd just like to, so the public will know, in District 4, Alain and Jean Dowsett were District 4 volunteers for the year, and I'd like to congratulate everybody that were volunteers and were nominated this year. Plenty of volunteers. It was certainly a good, congratulate the staff for doing a great job. Also, waste check, like Calvin, there's a discussion on classification of garbage. The garbage of the waste. And there's gonna be some kind of a symposium or something up in Halifax, Calvin, I think. Anyhow, they're looking, they might have an extra seat for somebody to go, oh, okay, anyhow, I'm gonna certainly have a peek at that, see what it looks like, and that's it.
I attended the airport board meeting. I was in Church Point for a set-in meeting. It's a committee that we have, a subcommittee of the board that we have. Met with the new CEO for NSFM. We've had a group of 9 meetings for the Mariner Center, the steering committee. I attended the NSFM Regional, which was held here in Yarmouth. Not a big attendance. We don't know why. It was on a Friday afternoon, which is not always the best time. People are working and that, but there wasn't a whole lot of people. There was enough that we put 3 or 4 tables together and we had like a round table type of discussion rather than the way it usually is. The volunteer banquet, of course. And that's about it since last meeting.
Councillor Bolt?
Yeah, attended the Yarmouth Industrial Commission, to Keel. I attended the priority workshop. I went to the fun run that the recreation department had. I helped them out there. The volunteer banquet as well, and like he said, I was gonna thank Jeanette for doing a super job, make sure that the volunteers have a special day. And thank you to all the volunteers in our municipality.
Councillor Dickman?
Thank you. I attended some of the other activities that some of the other councillors attended. I also attended a retirement party for Roger D'Entremont, who has managed the Village Acadien de Nouvelle-Écosse for the past 12 years. He was a great person for the village and a great person for tourism in general down this end of the province. He really went above and beyond, and that whether it was for the village or his staff and that, or people, visitors and that. So happy retirement to Roger, is what I'd like to say.
Thank you. He definitely was a wonderful person. Known him
Yes.
a lot of years.
He's a great
He had the right personality for that job.
Exactly.
Still is.
Still is, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose he still is. Just not in a public way.
Yeah, and in case I'll go a little further, and that just with that, being as though we gave a whole bunch of accolades for Roger, the new gentleman that they have in to manage it is from New Brunswick way, and hoping he'll enjoy it. He'll stay around here and enjoy the village. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the Warden's report, which is posted online on our agenda. I guess I attended most everything I already mentioned, 11 different functions and meetings, and I don't see a whole lot here that hasn't already been mentioned, but we'll move on to staff report, which is a very thorough one that I hope we've all gone through, and we'll let our CEO brief us on some of the highlights.
Thank you, Warden. I'm really high level on this one. I just want to make sure everybody understands that we are moving, we are having meetings with the Mariner Center expansion group. The steering committee met on April 5th to discuss some steps, next steps. I think communication will come out, official communication should come out tomorrow on that regarding, you know, what was discussed in that meeting. The application forms themselves are not released, so we don't know what that looks like. What we know is it's the ICIP funding mechanism, and you know, obviously, if we were successful in getting that, it's a 70% coverage. So it wouldn't be. Sorry, I think that's actually, yes, it's 70%. I think it's yeah, it's 40%. It's between 70 and 73. Now I'm starting to question myself, but it's a better percentage than we usually have. How's that?
Yeah, really.
So usually it's 1/3, 2/3. So we did have that experience with the Wedgeport project that we had we had 75%, I believe. This one is going to be similar percentage if we are successful, obviously, and that will require a lot of effort.
Interesting.
So they are committed in hiring to assist in that application once it comes out. So we need that help. So rural internet, nothing really to say there. Airport Corporation, we have scheduled our initial meeting. It could happen as early as this week with the 3 CAOs to talk about the airport agreement that we have extended 60 days from the end of March. So we're on day 51, I think. 51 days left, I should say. Admin building, I do have an update on that. We are looking at a redesign. I think I would have said that at the last meeting as well. There are some details associated with that. We met with Wild Salt last week, some of which will be discussed in camera, and some of which I will discuss now. Basically, they are recommending design changes that would be considerably more than what we discussed initially. Okay. So initially it was a lot of materials changes, going from this to that. The philosophy has changed because of the costs. One of which is the choice of materials. Mm-hmm. So I think these are concerns that you've raised as the ultimate owner of the project, as staff has as well, and as some of our building committee members have raised, and even some of our community members have raised, regarding the type of like windows and the type of materials that were used, that we're planning on using for windows, that will be downgraded, so it will be more traditional in design. So rather than they had a very specific window in mind, which had a wood composite. Now that is looking to be a more traditional plastic option that is readily available on the market. So things like that, those changes will be recommended and forthcoming. They're building it, so I can't go into a deep detail on it. Also, some rooms are considered to be superflu, over and above. So we tried to make some changes there. The offices will be a little larger. We found them a little tight, so we felt there was an opportunity to do that. And the roof will be redesigned. So a lot of concerns, I think, from the community, where there's a lot of twists and turns on that roof. It's a very complicated roof, and so it's a very beautiful roof as well. And so the architects didn't want to necessarily just jump on and change that. But one of the benefits of changing that roof and not including, so they're proposing a non-gabled roof, which would be far simpler and still quite nice, still pretty, but much less complex, etc. But one of the advantages of making that change is that we're no longer limited or restricted in the way the building can look on the inside, because they had some of those the gables themselves, where at every 24 feet or whatever it was at every, and so within that frame you couldn't adjust what was in that frame. Now we can, because we don't have that anymore. So it does allow for other flexibility. So they're confident that the price will be within the range that we have always told them it should be, and we will be, and so I can't think of any other major changes, but certainly the council chamber will be reconsidered, and I believe that there were some jut outs in some of the building, how the building was designed, that will become more square. So in some way, we actually gain usable space by doing that. Anyway, that's a lot of detail.
And just a question while you're talking about it. I heard a lot of discussion, I won't say who, but there was, because of the way the council chamber was set up or was built, that a lot of the ductwork and the wiring had to be hidden under cement and in pillars, and that was getting to cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, I can address that specifically. There were
Yeah,
actually two.
Is that being addressed, or was it a problem? Just rumors?
Well, no, I think in the original design of the council chambers, there was ductwork that was underground.
Right, that's what.
And one of the changes we made in the tendering process was to get that out of there. Because it was it's very expensive to do that. So, the reason why it was done is because it's an open concept. And so, because there's protecting the beauty, oftentimes you have things that hide the ductwork, right?
I know what
So
you mean now.
in this situation, we didn't. So they had an alternative to that, but it was still fairly expensive because they had to enclose it in wood or whatever they enclosed it with. However, because we do not have a wireless solution for the council chamber, it's still likely that some of the wiring would have to be under. So, for instance, we had talked about the council table being detachable. And so it was a circle, but you could detach part of it or you could detach all of it. And the purpose being it would become a multi-use facility, right? You could literally take each noodle of the boardroom table and put them in each corner, and you could use that entire space for whatever purpose. So because you're doing that, you have to wire from below. Now, that has not yet been changed, but it could change before the end of it.
Interesting.
But it is not a rumor, that is absolutely true.
It was true, okay.
Yeah, and so we did adjust somewhat.
Thank you for that.
Yep. So I think that's all I really wanted to touch upon. I will say, the sea cucumber appeal, dates have changed. So the dates were 24 to 26, 2019, and they've been, revised or moved to May 14th with May 15th, 16th, if required. So, and the reason was from the appellant. It was not our reasons. It was from the appellants that are did the appeal, the group appealing the decision. Their lawyer was not available on that time period.
Okay.
So, you mentioned 24th, 26th, that was April, and it's been moved to May.
Correct, thank you.
At the same venue?
Probably.
Yes.
Same venue.
Yeah, Mariner Center. Yeah, I mean, they wanted it local and they had some issues with some of the other venues inside the municipality, so the UARB took it upon themselves to choose the Mariner Center.
I just
Sorry, go
question,
ahead. I just wanted to ask a question, just kind of thinking out loud, hearing about the possible expansion to the Mariner Center, and I know the group of 9 are doing a very good job, I believe, of looking at the new expansion. Just wondering whether it be a councillor from here or the town of Yarmouth or the municipality of Yarmouth, if we're off someday that these group of 9 are meeting, are we allowed to sit in to these meetings just as a spectator to see what goes on and to listen?
I'm not sure how that would work. I think that came out from a councillor from another municipality. And that's a question that they asked. And I brought that up at the meeting, because what I guess the question was is this a public meeting or an in-camera meeting?
We never did get a straight answer.
We never did get a straight answer. They're not actually public yet, because we discussed things, I think, like as far as public where, now, whether other councillors could sit on, that I'm not sure. If it's decided that would be acceptable or not, for sure. I mean, I can't see, we're not hiding anything from the councillors.
Seems to me that councillors should be able to sit. That's my opinion too.
And I'm just,
We're all in here together.
I'm just wondering, because I did hear and that from someone else not around this table, and I was just wondering, really.
Because that was
And,
asked.
you know, we talk about transparency and,
Yes.
and just, you know, even if it's in camera, if it's a counselor that's there, the counselor, I'm sure, when he takes his oath for in-camera meetings and that, has to follow what goes on, whether it be for the Mariners Center expansion or a meeting here.
But there
That's
is
just-
going to be, like our CEO just mentioned, there is going to be something coming out about what has taken place, right?
Yeah,
Which will be sent to each council,
yeah, it would be public, it would
It'll
completely
be
100% public. yeah.
public.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't think of any legal reason
Reason
under the
why not.
MGA that the counselors would be in any way excluded from being in that room. I can't think of any reason. Because, as you know, all meetings of this nature, even when they're regional of this nature, are council meetings, and as such, other councillors have attended in the past in other situations, i.e. the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
As long as.
And that's, I was thinking of that one as well.
Yeah, I think it's a question that should be raised to the chair, so that the chair can make an effective decision around that, and would have to explain the reasons, probably not the reasons why you'd be invited, but probably the reasons why you wouldn't be, would have to be explained, right?
Exactly.
Now, there is potentially sensitive information
Yeah.
that occurs in these meetings, but that could be handled, right? You could save that for a period of time, and the rest of it be wide open.
Yeah.
It's not our call right now, I guess that's why we're all hesitating by
That's
answering,
it,
in our
exactly,
answer,
yeah.
but it probably is an official request of the chair to make that happen.
Yeah, no problem. I was just wondering, like I say, and might have been this past week or so, I took a little hit for transparency as far as what's going on with from the county that I've used to reside in, that I no longer reside in. And
Yes.
people have been giving me little shots in the ribs about it, and I'll say it's Richmond County is going through a hard time again.
Yes.
And so people have been wondering if I'm the same as, you know, somebody may be down there, or counselor may be down there, and they've been picking on me. I'm usually a pretty easy target, I guess, as well. So, yeah, whether it be short jokes or whatever, people tend
we
to
love
pick on
those.
me some.
We love those.
I'm sure you were, sir. Thank you very much.
That was
Thank you.
good.
Thank you, folks.
I've teased another resident of West Bromley about it. You can imagine who it is.
Yes, yes,
Any
yeah.
more questions for the CEO on the staff report? If not, that was a very,
I was going to do it, but you didn't do it.
Wait till we get another council chamber, or at least chairs. Then you got your chair. You shifted your bar.
Somebody might have, mine hasn't gone down since I sat in it, I
That's the
wonder
one.
why now.
we'll move on.
That's right.
Thanks for the staff report. It was well put together, a lot of detail in it. If anybody's interested in going through all of it, there's 14 pages of it. This being, I should have mentioned earlier, the 139th annual council meeting, there's some business to be taken care of, such as appointing the auditors. And I'm sure we have a proposed motion for that.
Sure do. Yes, I'll make the motion that council approve the firm Grant Thornton as auditors of the municipality of Argyle for the fiscal year 2018-19.
That would be the
Or-
wrong year, wouldn't
I was
it?
gonna say that'd be,
No.
should
That's
be
the wrong year.
2019, 2020.
20.
Yes, that makes
As
sense.
soon as I saw that, yeah.
Copy and paste.
So I'll still make that motion with the correction.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The next one's the solicitor, appointment of solicitor. And
So move to approve Dr. Mobudra Solicitors for the municipality for the fiscal 2019, 2020.
I'll second that. We'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Thank you for your confidence in our services.
You're
Very
more than
much.
welcome.
Very much.
The next one is appointment of officers, and we have a list here of the fire wards, which would be the chiefs, deputy chiefs for all 9 fire departments of municipality or serve in the municipality or through mutual aid. EMO coordinator, Janine Muse. Building officials, John Sullivan. Development officer, John Sullivan. Bylaw enforcement officers, Hans Pelev and John Sullivan. Fire inspector, David Andrews, and dog control, SPCA, Nova Scotia. And building inspectors, there's only one, John Sullivan. Not,
Dave Andrews, Alain, Dave Andrews, is he from Marvell?
No, Barrington.
Oh, Barrington.
So he's a trained fire inspector, and we're using his services as we need.
So we don't have a sheep valuer anymore?
Yeah, that was
No,
that was
Yeah,
my
yeah,
question.
look for the sheep.
We dropped that last year.
Okay.
Engaged sheeper.
Yeah, we got the shears. I think if we need a valuer, I think we know where to go.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
and there was, used to be a fence viewer.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on those
Yeah,
appointments.
I'll make the motion that council approving.
I'll second it.
Fence poster.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Next one is membership, I believe, I can get it open. And, membership in the it's NSFM,
Yeah.
Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. It
Yeah.
used to be called the UNSM, but it's been changed. So membership in that provincial organization and the FCM, which is our federal organization that we belong to.
I'll make the motion that we approve membership to the NSFM and FCM for 2019, 2020. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
You passed the test. It's a skill testing question.
That NSFM?
Yeah.
Please.
You passed.
And there was a debate on changing the name. They had it,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, there was letters, yeah, anyhow. Number 13, strategic priority topics, which there's nothing listed under there for this evening. 14, for decision. Doctor Recruitment Committee, I assume we have to approve these terms. Yarmouth County Health Services Recruitment and Retention Committee, wow, that's a long one. Terms of reference. Everyone's had a chance to look through these. Is everybody all right with them?
Yeah.
So I assume we need a motion to accept these.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
And this is a subcommittee of council,
It is, yeah.
so
Yeah.
would be subject to the protections of council around being a subcommittee of council.
Next one is the municipality of Argyle outstanding accounts receivable for March 30.
No.
No,
No,
No.
Back up.
that's
February 15th.
correspondence.
Okay,
Sorry, sir.
Abrams River.
Abrams River.
14B.
He wanted to move
Abrams River,
fast. He wanted to move fast.
no, Abrams River Schoolhouse Society Community Hall Grant Application. Review and approval.
So we approve that now before budget?
Well, because I think the short answer is yes, I think
Okay.
we can, because council had approved a multi-year
Yes.
commitment.
And we know it's gonna be in the budget, so.
Yeah,
For
so,
sure.
yes, I mean, it's really to accept their application.
That's right.
The application is for 15. As you might recall, the budget was for 45 for so many years.
Yes.
So this would be well below your commitment
Right.
to fund community halls in this particular year, but that's partially due to the fact that you accelerated in one of the years.
Okay.
So I think we're comfortable to say, yes,
We can-
we're gonna continue to
course.
support because we've received an application.
I'll move that we accept their application.
Second.
On the question, in the past years, staff has had a committee where they went through these and scored them. Was this done for this one, or where it was the only one? It's just,
It was, the short answer is yes, the staff that was tasked to evaluate received the application. There was no need to meet and evaluate the application. They were all satisfied that the application with the changes that you made
Yes.
to the policy
Right.
met the criteria.
then that's the answer I expected.
Question on my part, Alan, it pertains kind of to this situation, to the schoolhouse, but, to the grant. So why would it not be that we could put our district community grants? So if we had we've got district community grants, some people have, I've got already an ask, so why couldn't that be on our agenda?
Well, I suppose it could. I mean, I think what you're asking is that why aren't we approving district community
Because
grants?
there was a bunch there, they were taken off, and the idiot explained to me, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this, when I heard that, I said,
Well, I think the difference is that we've never made a multi-year commitment to the district community grant money,
So,
whereas we made a multi-year commitment to the community hall funding.
gotcha.
So that, to me, would be the only real difference. I mean, your point is well taken. I think it's in some ways valid in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, right?
Yeah.
But you could decide to do it, to do less,
So
right? And then we're stuck.
approving the application, we're not ready to write the check, right?
No, and you
Oh,
still,
wait, oh,
and
I
you
thought
still
that
have,
meant that-
Yeah.
you're approving the application as an eligible
Yeah.
applicant, and then,
I thought we were approving the 15,000.
but, I mean, technically you are, in a way.
But we have to bring it back to budget
To budget
deliberations
again.
and go
Yeah.
through it, so.
I get you.
Yeah,
so-
they're not gonna receive their money before the budget is actually approved.
Gotcha.
But what you're telling us in this motion is that this is a qualified bid and we're accepting it.
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
And you're actually informing us to put 15,000 in the budget. Indirectly,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Thank you, that settles what I wanted, yeah, thank you.
Question?
All hearing the question? No on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The next one is, I'll be careful here now, Memorandum of Understanding for the Municipal Physical Activity Leadership Program, which I believe we've been a part of for a number of years now. It's where the provincial government pays a fair share of the salary on that position, am I correct?
Correct,
To the tune of 20,000?
25.
25, and we have to contribute to a minimum of 20, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's had a chance to see this. Thoughts, questions? Would you like to explain any further?
Quickly, that it's a 5-year deal, so that means that we're committed, the province is committed to 5 years more of their funding on active or physical activity. And it also means we're committed to it. If you're approving the contract, it means that we're committed for 5
Yeah.
years to continue that. And as you know, this position started with Julien Boudreau, but then eventually we hired Natalie, and then we made some changes within the recreation department, and now Jeanette is primarily responsible for this. So this is, and this contract is a standard contract from the province. I don't have there's no like issues associated with it. There's clauses, et cetera, that are typical of what we would have done in the past, and certainly from recreation's perspective, they had no issue with it either, so.
So it doesn't mean we're gonna hire a new person then?
No, this
We
is
already
just a
have the person,
continuation, this
and
is
then
a
we get
continuation.
funding.
Right,
Continuation
just
of
to get the money
funding.
for it.
Funding.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
That's all.
I remember the first time we got it, we was all pretty excited to get it, and, yeah, so it's good to see.
So
it
the
being
program's
renewed.
been going for how many years now? Has it been 5 or?
It's been more than 5.
Oh, more than
Yeah,
5, yeah.
5, I think
I'd
that's
go with
might be-
8.
8
Wow.
years, that's about 8.
8, 10 even.
Time flies, I
If
guess.
it's every 5 years, it's probably been 10.
Yeah.
This is I believe this is the second 5-year contract we've signed. And before, I don't think it was 5 years.
Okay.
And not taking anything away from the other departments with the municipality here, but I believe the recreation department is a great department. They do a lot of good stuff, you hear it a lot, them putting stuff on, whether it be for the children, adults, seniors, so kudos to them.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So move that we we approved the municipal physical activity leadership program, memorandum of understanding.
Second that.
Thank you, Councillor Surratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Negotiation for land sale. And I believe I'm gonna pass this one over to CAO, it's to do with the
I
airport.
thought that would be maybe in camera, but I guess it's,
Well, it's just to deal with the motion that the board has made.
okay.
So you, now, there would have been, there were some changes, because there was potential sensitive information included in the original, I would suggest you refresh your document. I will go through it. That really is just where some of the information was quite specific to the potential buyer. Upon reflection, it was probably to do it entirely in public and to be comfortable with having a public conversation around this. It was better that we amended it to not include the other party at this time.
Very good.
Okay, so your question around should it be in camera? There might have been some items in the original that were a little sensitive.
Got it.
I don't feel like this one would
I see it now.
be. So basically, the airport has been approached by a potential buyer for the potential sale of land. It's a little premature because as ownership, we've not made a decision how we're going to instruct or inform the airport board moving forward. So as a reminder, in the facilitated session with the two other municipalities, there appeared to be fundamentally consensus on 4 items. One is that the closure of runway 1533, which is the shorter runway, and the runway not supported by approach lighting. All of this is under the premise, under the conclusion that we must make it smaller, okay? And that was, I guess, the original consensus position, that they felt like it was operating too big for the services that are being provided there, and I think we're all aware of that. A new agreement would be limited to 24 months at an annual municipal subsidy considerably lower than what it was in the original agreement, which is $685. If you recall, in the original agreement, it was a minimum of $770. Now that is due to some cost reduction strategies that we've already put in place. Identify redundant capital assets and find alternate uses, lease, sale, whatever. So that's not just land, that's in reference to building and equipment and other things that might be redundant. With the closure of 1533, that would open up a redundancy in land use because you would then open up the potential development of a property of substantial value of which has not been determined, but I think we know that location would generate some interest in a higher value land opportunity. The town doesn't have an excess of land available for commercial use, so this would open that up for commercial or other use. So it would focus investments on, consider the sale of that high value land is basically to further reduce costs of maintenance and operation, but also it creates an asset replacement fund where the proceeds of that sale you could focus on either reinvesting in the capital operations or in the regular operations of the airport in the future. So, and the MGA considerations around this request is fairly straightforward. You've entered into an intermunicipal agreement with 2 other parties. The agreement states clearly that you cannot, that they can't buy or sell land. That is a decision of the owner, not of the board of the airport. And the MGA allows you to own and operate airports under section 65 AQ, but if that wasn't allowed, you've been doing it for like 14 years, we got a real problem. So I think we knew that one, or we hoped to know that one anyway. So the status update is the board has received an interest from a third party, but they want to know whether we're interested in selling land, essentially. The concept was shared in camera at the airport, and councils are being asked to authorize the corporation to enter negotiations with this party. and that the negotiations would be supported by appropriate legal and other expertise. The development could include both commercial and residential. We have seen concepts, but we don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. We know that the buyer is a credible organization. Very credible. So the board considers this to be a potential win for the airport, the ongoing mission to spark economic development. And in the interest of being transparent, the potential buyer could be considered as a nonprofit organization, which could allow flexibility in how we enter into a land transaction. But we will be getting legal counsel around all of that. So basically, what they're asking is permission to enter into negotiation to sell. They're not asking for sale.
No.
There are too many factors at play here that are unknown. But what they're asking is for this owner, this 1/3 owner, to consider giving them that authority. How does that work? Well, they don't have a manager. And so it's likely that it will be led by the CAO group in some way, shape, or form with support. They will be engaging third-party assistance where needed, legal or otherwise. So I'm recommending an allocation of a contingency budget line item in your current budget. So where you've made a commitment kind of to the 685,000, there may be a contingency that we want to build in our budget to make sure that we have sufficient funds to address this particular transaction. And the negotiation would likely, like I said, led by CAO group, because council's already set this as a priority. You have set, and specifically the priority you've said is reduce the airport footprint. It was high on your priority list this year, so that tells me you want to spend some time and energy in doing that. So I won't get into the specifics of the how many elements need to be ironed out, but there's quite a few. The motion approved by the board was to direct, was to have direction from the owners to enter into negotiation for all or part of the airport lands to arrive at terms and conditions satisfying to the owners, and further, that the airport board engage the expertise to support and carry out the negotiations. So, again, it is permission to open the dialogue, because we don't have the authority at the board to do so.
Any questions? Councillor Surratt.
Couple of questions, Alan, if you could, maybe you could clear that. I find that we could be, and maybe this is not the motion that's saying, and wanted that cleared up. I wouldn't want to give a blank check for negotiations and what does it say, billing will transpire, unknown, although it is unknown about the additional billing that will transpire. I mean, what I would like to know, is that gonna be a $20,000 line item, is that a $10,000 on our behalf? I hate to go and pass a blank check.
No.
You know, I mean, I don't want to say 100,000, which I know it won't be by far, but are you thinking maybe it's more in the 5, 10, 15, 20, or you don't know?
At this point, it's closer to 10,000 than anything else per unit. We actually don't know. The first step is to understand if we even have a deal to discuss, right? Because, you know, the ownership is gonna have some requests, and so will the other party. So, but at this point, I don't have that budget, but if I'm to throw a number out, it would be closer to $7,000 to $10,000 for the municipality of Argyle.
Right. Yeah,
And the other point is that actually it's possible that could be absorbed by the existing airport corporation, and that it would not require additional funding.
Yes.
I don't have that answer, so I would prefer to warn you that there's a potential, and that's why I say contingency.
Right, I saw that.
So, and the fact of the matter is, if we're successful, we could have that recovered. We could have that cost recovered if we were successful in a land sale, because the land sale would be significant.
For sure. And then we could be, and that was my other question, could we put in a motion, that this is not, I think, what you're asking for, in that motion where we get repaid back? Not, will we should be, put in that motion, we should be reimbursed.
I hear what you're saying. I would recommend that if you want to do that, it would be by separate motion. And you can sit on that motion in essence, because we'll have more information as it transpires. So I hear your concern, and I guess my only recommendation would be to not forget about that concern, maybe park it for now.
Yeah.
And understand what the other two parties are thinking around that. And as we get more information, I think that's when we would introduce
could go into
those
that.
kinds of restrictions.
Good, I'm all set.
And just to finish that, and I apologize,
No.
you can set a cap, right? You can say, look, we'll give you an additional 5 and that's it.
Yeah,
You can do that too as a council.
I'm all set there, thank you.
Any more questions?
The only thing I'd like to ask is, just for anyone that's watching at home, you mentioned 685,000 a couple of times, but
Yeah.
our portion of that would be 29%,
Correct.
I believe, okay? And the only other thing I'm wondering, just because the airport has been funded for quite a while with tax dollars, public tax dollars, if that land does come up for sale, potentially, is there gonna be one organization or one group given the chance to purchase it, or is it gonna come out publicly and put on the market?
I don't have, so there's two parts to the question. One is financial. Let me address that one first, and then I'll address the other one. So when we talk about 685,000, there's two things that those that are watching should know. One is the 685 includes property taxes on the property. So that is $105,000. We get our portion of that back. So in fact, the net cost is not 685, but rather 580,000. So if we take 580,000 and multiply that by 29%, our net cost to the municipality for this year coming is proposed at 168,200. That's net of our tax refund.
Oh, yeah,
That does not include any revenue that we may receive, because as far as the fact that they have not replaced an interim manager, I don't know any other organization that's actually managing the airport. Therefore, we were managing it at a fee before. So there would continue to be a fee until that gets resolved, because there continues to be work placed on this office in that respect. So it could be less than the 168. So that's the financial question. Now, that may be meaningful or not to a listener, but I would suggest that we were at one point, we were responsible for 274,000.
Absolutely.
So to give people an idea, a perspective, now that would have been on the high end, Council.
Sure.
There would have been, most years would have been between those two numbers, probably closer to 230. So it is an improvement, it is better, but there's still a ways to go. The second question was in regards to the transparency of the sale of property. Without disclosing the buyer is not a private business. So is a potential partner, government partner. So in that instance, I think we have a little flexibility in negotiating. Outside of that, I think, and that negotiation there'd be some level of transparency that would be required. If it was a private deal, or if it was done with the intent of attracting private businesses, I think there would have to be some form of request for a proposal, or a request for, for an ROI, a request of interest, an expression of interest, EOI. So that would typically be the way that we would do things from a transparent perspective. I would probably defer to legal advice at the board level to tell us exactly how we would need to do that. Right now, we don't have that advice.
Just wondering.
No, it's
They-
an important question.
And they shouldn't rush for a new manager, you're still doing a great job, I believe, so.
That's
Yeah.
what you keep saying.
You
I
are.
appreciate that,
No
but I'm not so
problem.
sure. Yeah, anyway, okay, so that's,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Councillor Surratt?
Just another question, Alain, if you can answer this. In this agreement that we have now, the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation, if there's taxes coming in, would they go to the airport corporation at the way the agreement is till the end of March? So let's say they're building, let's say they build residential or commercial there.
Yes.
The way the agreement is set up, as of March 31st, up to March 31st, would the taxes all go to the International Airport Corporation?
No. There,
Midland went to somebody else, right?
there is no agreement amongst the owners of the airport for the sharing of taxation revenues on the sale of property at the airport corporation. We have not, as three units, come to any form of conclusion around that. Now, I recognize that would have been mentioned at this table by myself as a potential revenue item for the airport. However, that's not our call. It is the call of those that own the property and whether they're willing, I shouldn't say own, I should say where the property is located and taxed.
Yes.
So, you know, if there's an unwillingness to come to an agreement on that, then that's obviously something we're gonna have to think about and what that means for us as the one partner that wouldn't benefit, right? However, you know, and there have been some concerns raised, and I'll raise them. I mean, you know, like the concerns basically surround, well, if there are services that are required at that location, is it fair that the 100% of the revenue is shared when there might be costs that the town or the municipality of Yarmouth could incur? And the answer is no, that's not fair at all.
That's right.
And so there's a lot to discuss around what
Yes.
that might look
I
like.
get you.
And so, you know, we just, you know, we're partners, we're 29% right now. And, you know, if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd have that very same concern.
You're absolutely right.
So, and so it's just, you know, it's like anything else, there's always issues, you just have to work them out.
Just work them out, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
That answers what I have.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any more questions? Do I have, somebody move that motion?
I'll make that, to direct the airport corporation to enter into negotiations for all or part of the airport lands to arrive at terms and conditions satisfying to the owners, and further, that the airport board engage the expertise to support and carry out the negotiations.
I'll second that.
What's that? Oh, did you say, sorry?
Mhm.
Motion's been moved and seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We move on to correspondence and for information. Municipality of Argyle, 2019 and 20 operating budget. There's no attachment. Do you have a comment?
Just verbal update. So, the operating budget is well underway. I just want to give just an update to council around some of the projects that we're seeing that are new, that we know for sure that we have to undertake. The dispatch fees this year is new. So if you remember, and I won't go line by line, so it'll be okay. It won't be too long. You know, I can get excited. So, yeah, so before, what was happening is there were seven municipal fire departments that are in Argyle proper, and then 2 that we shared. Each of them were paying $1,200 a year. So that's $9,600, I think, if I get the math right, or something along those lines. Let's just round it to 10. That number will be about 23 and change this year, which was the amount, we knew it would go up. So there's two things, is that is now our cost to bear. So the fire departments no longer pay that 1,200. We used to pay them the money and they would pay that. So we're probably gonna have a modest, if any, maybe not even an increase in the operating funds for the fire departments this year, because we have given them an additional 1,200 across the board. Now, that's up to council, okay, but I'm just saying that it won't be a 2 or 3% increase, it will be a more modest increase, because we've done it in two ways. I think, and ultimately, that will be up to you, but that's what we're gonna be presenting. As well, there are quite a few one-time requests that are coming through the pipe that you'll have to make decisions on. We will present that information to you, so that you can be in a situation where you either say no to things, or you defer them, or you find other revenue sources. Another item that I thought I would mention would be the fleet policy. So this was coming out of the the Quinnen Fire Department request. So the Quinnen Fire Department requested $25,000 over 6 years, and it was, well, I think I can't recall if that was their request, that was what we gave them. So, so we're committed to that for 6 years. There's also a request that's outstanding from the East Kemptville Fire Department, and that is a $15,000 per year for 5. We have not made a decision on that, because we told them that we would be doing policy work to confirm that. So you have currently $40,000 potentially that you have to look at, and that would happen over the next 5 years. And for Eelbrook, an extra year. Sorry, for Quinnen, an extra year.
That's right.
So
6 years.
Quinnen is 6, Kempt is 5. So that's something that you've already made a commitment for the 25, so that's in, and you committed to policy. So that's what that means will be up to you. We have major capital requests potentially this year. Obviously, we do have our admin building, but that was expected, and that money is set aside for that. But we do have the Eelbrook Fire Department request which is a considerable one, and along with others. So all that to say, we're not balanced. We're not at zero, okay? So we're gonna be presenting information to help us along, so that we're not making the decisions, you're making the decisions as we come down to the number. And so, as it has been every year, or at least the last 2 years, we have presented that to you, and you basically say, okay, well, maybe we just can't do that this year, maybe we'll do it next, or maybe we say, no, we don't do that particular thing. So we'll do our best to present the information in as detail as possible. And of course, and I hate to say it, but you do have the option to increase your tax rate in order to effectively do these services. I wouldn't suggest that you, certainly not suggesting that lightly, and wouldn't suggest that you would do it for one-off things. But we have had the discussion of, how over time, the low increase in assessment value is not matching the higher increase in some of the cost of delivery of service.
Absolutely.
Now, most of that is coming from the province. Most of that increase is provincial, meaning, excuse me, school board appropriations are up. They follow uniform assessment, and if your uniform assessment goes up, so does your education. Your education's gonna be up $20,000 or $30,000. RCMP goes up every year.
Yeah,
Right? Your solid waste goes up every year.
yeah.
If your market values are not increasing at a normal pace, and they have tapered a bit, combined with the cap on assessment, the ability to generate revenue simply relying on an increase in assessment is becoming less and less evident. So we will present this to you over the next 20, 30 days. It's gonna come, it's coming, you'll have the information, and you'll be able to make the decisions you wanna make on that, in that area. And again, I'm not suggesting that you require a tax increase. I'm suggesting there's a lot of commitments that you may choose to pay for in that manner. And not to mention Mariner Center and other things that we're still unclear as to how much that's going to impact our taxpayers at this time. So, that's really a verbal update on the operating budget. And if there are any questions around, other things that might be new that you were concerned about, or any questions whatsoever, I know I haven't presented you with the budget because it's still in draft.
Councillor Surratt?
Just a question, Mariner Center, let's say we approved for that, would that be more likely 2020-21 budget?
It's certainly the only money that a Mariner Center expansion would ask for now would be in the application.
Oh, yeah, that's
So-
right, because we're hiring somebody.
And we, we have committed an amount
Yes.
up to 40 for that.
That's right.
I don't see that there would be, I can't see that there would be considerable expenses in this fiscal as early as next fiscal. It really depends on when the funding comes out. My understanding is that the funding's supposed to be announced before the fall, which there's an election. So, the applications need to be in, I thought it was July. It seems to me so we're April now.
Yeah.
So if something's due in June or July, it's gonna come out soon. And, anyway, so that, any capital costs associated with that project are quite unlikely to happen in any substantial way this year, like almost impossible. So it would be 2021, to your point, or even later.
Thank you.
That would be a multi-year project.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We all said, any more questions? Accounts receivable is, as of March 31st, have you anything to add to that? Or just information?
Outside of the decision to do water lending, it's very strong. It's meaning the receivables have been collected successfully. In fact, probably better than in the past. Now, some of that's due to some cleanup of outstanding and duplicate accounts and accounts that were aged and inappropriate. So, however, this is a great. I think it's a positive sign.
Thank you. Yes, just projected funding requirements for 2019-20 fiscal year. We'll be discussing that at budget. Anybody got any questions on that, or?
Is that close to what we usually give them, like what they're asking for here?
It's the operating is an inflationary increase,
Okay.
and the second number is consistent with what it's been in the past. It's very, very close.
Okay, Mariner Center expansion documents. These are documents from back in 2015 and 16 when a study was done, and it's in our current agreement that's been extended for another year or another. At our last meeting, we extended Mariner Center agreement for
12 months.
12 months. Yes. That's just information. Gilbrook Fire Department ratepayers meeting, March 28th. That was the same that we had a meeting here. And there was an increase of up to 12.5 cents. And refresh my memory, it went up from what, 6.5?
7.5.
Okay.
7.5.
So do we have to approve that?
We will all at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, senior citizens coordinators report for information. And the next one, I'll turn it over to Councillor D'Entremont.
Thank you, Warden. Schmack-Orney is a road in Lower West Pamlico, my district, on the western side of the peninsula that goes from Highway 335 to the shore on the west side of the peninsula. And in the past, there was access to the shore, but I have a couple of pictures there. But lately, because of road erosion and I guess the rising of the ponds that exist there, the road is underwater, and so people, who traditionally would either walk or, drive or whatever, don't have access to the shore there. And so I just wanted to maybe make a motion that we send a letter to Department of Transportation to look into that to see what we can can do about, I guess, putting back the road in to have access to the shoreline, because there is, especially in the summertime, a lot of people walk there and like to have access to the shore. And right now, it's, I guess you need either probably rubber boots or maybe even hip boots to go through there, so.
Is this road, that portion of the road, is that, would that be classed as a K-section, I wonder? It's beyond where the houses are.
Yeah, yeah,
And I wonder if it turns into a K-section there.
yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, is that a legal road? It looks like just a bunch of rocks.
No, well,
Road,
it does look like a bunch of rocks now, but it did actually look like a road. Oh, yeah, it was a road there, so, yeah, yeah. And over the years, I guess from erosion, from usage of, vehicles or four-wheelers or whatever, and, I guess the ponds have, the water level's gone up a little bit, and so it's over the road and, so. So I'll make a motion, we send a letter to the Department of Highways.
I'll second that motion, please.
On the question of whether it's a K road or not, 0.5 kilometers shore southerly to end is the description, and that's considered K.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that that's the same description as what you're describing. But we have Schmet Akornu 0.5 kilometers south southerly to end as K, meaning they don't maintain, normally, they don't maintain those roads. Just for information, it's not to say that we won't, it's not to counter the motion,
Yeah.
obviously the motion.
Yeah.
But it's
Just
for
so we know what it
information,
is, yeah.
for information, and I'll just, that's all I have.
All right.
Do we have a motion?
Yep. Question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
While we're talking about Department of Highways, though, it might be time again to invite them in and just to have a chat with them about some of the concerns that the councillors are hearing out there about the roads and work on the roads and stuff like that. We had a very good meeting here with them a while ago. I thought we might have follow-ups, but maybe it'd be good to invite them in again, have some talks with them.
Very good idea.
Yep.
So, thank you.
I hope we get more results than what we did. We only got lip service from them. As far as I'm concerned, that's all we got. And I'll say that publicly, because nothing was done for some of the stuff we asked. But I'd certainly like to see him again, yes. I agree with you.
I guess it blew my very good meeting over the water, but anyway.
Yeah, we'll move on.
If I may, just before we go, what was the motion? Is it just to write the Department of Transportation with regards to that road?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll call Rusty, I'll call my contacts there to tell them also. So.
Financial requests, there's none tonight until we get our new budget approved. Agenda topics for next meeting. Notice of motion by councillors. Any questions from the media or public? No interview requests? Okay,
No questions on Facebook.
no questions on Facebook?
Well, there's one, but it's not municipal related.
What's wrong with the color of my tie?
Nothing, that is not the question.
So we'll need a motion to go in camera.
Motion to go in camera.
To discuss personal matters and contract negotiations.